Hey everybody, this is Perch. What do we got? We're talking about commies. Who doesn't like talking about commies? Anyway, it says, "Hello, Perch. I like Captain America more the character than recent titles. I wish he'd get a better shake. I haven't read old school Cap, by which I mean the 40s through the 70s, but I see this talking point on Reddit and Twitter that there was some dark age of Cap where he'd beat up communists, and people were like, 'We're glad those days are behind us,' and that was retconned as not real Cap. But it all feels like a big game of telephone. I never see panels, quotes, or issues cited." Okay, now for what it's worth, there's kind of two things that could be happening here. Number one, there was Captain America during the 40s and everything, where he absolutely did beat up commies and Nazis and all kinds of things, basically anti-American stuff for sure. And then there was Cap. There was a storyline, and I don't recall what it was like. There was a couple of storylines where Cap got on drugs, and then he was beating up random people. And then there was where Cap retired, and John Walker was Cap, who later became the U.S. Agent. Anyway, and John Walker was kind of I don't remember if he was beating up commies, but he was more beating up that type of person. So there's that time period where you had like drugged out crazy Cap, and I think that Cap beat up like jaywalkers, and or maybe it was at the time the Punisher went crazy and started shooting jaywalkers. I don't remember. Anyway, they've done this with characters where they get a little too ultra, and then they start killing people. But anyway, but Cap back in the day absolutely did beat up Nazis and commies and all kinds of stuff, and that was not retconned out. I mean, maybe some writer somewhere is saying, well, some of those things don't happen. But no, I mean, Captain America had those adventures. And he was, I guess there was the bit where he was frozen in ice, and then they're kind of skipping some things. And then there was a Captain America who wasn't the Steve Rogers Captain America who was beating up commies. I remember that whole storyline. And that's how they kind of took care of the time period between the frozen in ice and the Avengers finding him. So I guess that was kind of retconned out. That's true. Or at least they revealed somebody else was who was like brainwashed. This is all bringing some kind of vague memory. I don't recall what the deal was, but it was like not really Cap who was doing that. But anyway, if you're a communist trying to do harm to America, Captain America should absolutely beat the shit out of you, much like he would beat the shit out of the Nazis. And by the way, I know this is a controversial term on old Reddit and Twitter, and this will probably firmly put me in one camp or the other. Evil commies, and Nazis, both bad. Both bad. I understand it's popular in the U.S. right now to say I'm a communist and everything else. And if that's your worldview, more power to you. You can do whatever you want. But, you suck and should be destroyed. I'm just, well, I'm not kidding. I'm sorry. Well, whatever. Don't get political, Perch. Why are you always going to get political? I don't know. I mean, it is weird if you're Gen X, commies suck. Sorry. I grew up watching Red Dawn. And fuck those commies. I don't care how popular on Reddit. I don't care if you think that, well, Bernie Sanders is a socialist. Anyway, look, you could call yourself comrade and cosplay as some kind of revolutionary on Twitter all you want. It doesn't make you interesting, brave, or smart. So Captain America should absolutely give you a good punch in the mouth. If they said Captain America's out there to beat up commies, fascists, and Nazis, I'm like, yep, sign me up, on board. That is correct. They all deserve a punch in the mouth. But wait, Perch, but Nazis are worse than commies. I mean, okay, sure. I guess, like, what are we talking about? They all get a punch in the mouth. We don't need to decide who's the worst one. They all get a punch in the mouth. Nazis killed more people than commies. Yeah, it's true. So maybe you could make that punch a little harder with the Nazis. I'm sure somebody will be offended that, fuck it. Anyway, there you go. There's my bold stance of the day. Commies suck. We continue with the mail. What's up with all this? I have nothing to look to see what people mean because they never bring up receipts. It's just a vague, the good Cap, not the one who is beating up communists. If Cap can punch a Nazi and even have Sam Wilson stalking the Tea Party, why can't he punch communists? Especially a Soviet spy character. Batman was still beating up Soviets and helping Reagan in the 80s. If an ideology is at war with the U.S., I don't see why our heroes wouldn't battle some enemies or that ideology like they battle Red Skull despite the Cold War being way more recent than fighting Nazis. If Cap was just walking around the streets beating up anyone who vocally supported anything left of center, then sure, that's wrong. But damn it, I need context. And Cap, from his history, should absolutely be a raging anti-communist. I mean, he's from the era where even the lefties were anti-communist as hell. Yeah, keep in mind, absolutely. Cap Cap beating up communists is absolutely on brand for Cap. He's fighting enemies of America. But saying that I'm left wing, thus communist, and I put a little communist, and I said, hashtag, hail Stalin. I mean, in my Twitter bio, you are cosplaying a communist. I don't know what you do in real life, but look, if you're out there and you got your Netflix and you're using your Uber Eats and you got your job at some tech company and you pretend to be a communist. There's a guy I knew who worked at Amazon, and he's getting Amazon Pay, and he was like, "I'm a communist," and and he had like a little the full extent of his communist powers was he had like a little green kind of army jacket with communist ideology, or sorry, communist iconography on the jacket, and thus he was a communist. But you fucking work at Amazon. You're not a communist if you work at Amazon. I'm sorry, you're not. You're pulling down, $210 a year. Fuck off with your communism. You're not a communist. You're telling me that how great it was to watch Game of Thrones and all this kind of, no. Anyway, but this storyline. So Captain America. I should actually do a video about this, but Captain America in the 50s was revealed to kind of not be Captain America, and it was this. What is it? William Burnside, Captain America in the 50s. He basically was kind of this Captain America between the Captain America falls in the ice, gets frozen as we know it, and then the original Captain America, which showed up in the Avengers. So it was initially, when this comic was out, he was Captain America, but and this was Captain America and Bucky in Young Men comics. No jokes, please. And then through retroactive continuity, the character turned out to be completely different from Captain America, and I think he basically was he's Captain America in the 50s, so he was beating up commies and everything else. And I think what was the deal? He was a big fan of Captain America in World War II. So he then, somehow gets powers, I believe. He kind of researches the stuff, and he tries to become the next Captain America. And maybe he didn't get powers. I don't remember. But he did dress up like Captain America and started kicking some shit out of people. And he did, he injected, he made his own Bucky. And he injected himself with a super serum. And he fought the Red Skull. But anyway, I think they kind of revealed that he became this is what later on Captain America's beaten enemies of America, which included commies and people from McCarthy. And then they later said, well, the only reason he did that is because the super soldier serum that he shot himself up with was flawed, and so it made him crazy. And so he just became to America. He became America plus Ultra. And then they basically, the government this is how they kind of ended that storyline is how they explained he got kind of why he went away, is the government arrested him, put him into suspended animation. And then they did this storyline where somebody woke him up and sent him out to kill, the Steve Rogers Captain America and Falcon, but they got fucked up again. And then he got put under, which minion of the Red Skull found him? Dr. Faustus found him. And then he made him the leader of a neo-Nazi group called the Grand Force or the something Force, the National Force. And then he got his ass kicked again. I believe, the whole thing, I think he burned himself alive. That's right. So anyway, there was more, and then he got brought back to life again. This was more recently. And I think his body became the body for the Red Skull, or something. Fuck it, I don't remember. The whole thing got really stupid. It was a retcon of how they tried to excise this, mid 40s to 1960 Captain America, where he was beating up. But the story wasn't just. If you read those original comics, they didn't have him going out there just beating up beatniks and commies and stuff. They had him fighting enemies of America. And quite frankly, in your mail, you are correct. They were enemies of America. So whether you now think commies are fashionable or not, whatever, but Captain America was out dispensing some justice to various people. Make no mistake about it, There are a lot of writers out there, I know for a fact at least two of them, who have pitched to DC to somehow reveal that the Superman in the 40s that would like say, I'm going to go kill the Japanese with this bomb, do all that kind of stuff, was an evil Superman somehow under the influence of red kryptonite, because they feel the super need to go in there and kind of try and set history right. But here's the thing, you know, you would go buy like Cracker Jacks and they would talk about beating up commies. I mean, that was the era you lived in. You do not need to explain it. You could just move on. You know, we're friends with the Japanese now. You do not need to go and explain how back in the 40s, you know, Superman or Captain America, whoever it is, said some racist shit. You don't need to do that because that was the 40s. We do not live in the 40s anymore. You can say, well, that was another time and move on. That is the correct answer, and that's what people should do. But, you know, here we are. Anyway, hope that answered your question. You can go look this stuff up. It's that William Burnside, right? That's the character. You read all about the history there, and the bringing him back as a villain turned convoluted and all jacked up. It wasn't good. I'll just leave it there. Anyway, Perch says beat up the commies. Controversial hot take. Beat up the commies. Thanks for listening.